Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. David Chen's voice on the phone wasn't rushed. That alone made my stomach drop. Tom, I need you to come in today, he said. It's about Ethan. I froze. Ethan Brooks had been dead for 2 months. Cancer took him fast. 67 years old. Diagnosis to funeral in 6 brutal weeks. Ethan wasn't just a friend. He was my brother in everything but blood. College roommates. Startup partners. 25 years of late nights, bad coffee, and impossible deadlines. I'd held his wife's hand at the funeral and promised I'd be okay. I wasn't. What about Ethan? I finally asked. There was a pause. The kind that hits harder than bad news. He left something for you, David said. A package with instructions. I was told not to release it until today. Exactly 60 days after his death. That made no sense. At 65, I thought surprises were behind me. I'd sold my tech company years ago, cashed out, traveled the world. After my first wife passed suddenly from a stroke, my life fell into a quiet, lonely routine. Until Melissa, I met her at a charity event 4 years back. Early 40s. Sharp, warm, always knew what to say. Her son Ryan was 19 then. Business major, big dreams, zero discipline. Melissa said she'd struggled after her divorce. I was grieving. We filled each other's gaps. We married fast. Ethan was the only one who raised an eyebrow, but I brushed it off. I figured he was being protective. Now he was gone, and suddenly reaching back from the grave. David handed me a small sealed envelope pulled from a safe. Inside was a USB drive, my name written in Ethan's unmistakable handwriting. He recorded this 3 weeks before he died. David said quietly, "He made me promise you'd watch it alone." That ride home felt longer than it should have. Melissa was out at her book club. Ryan was at his apartment. Though I paid the rent and rarely saw proof he attended classes, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I locked myself in my study and plugged in a drive. Ethan's face filled the screen. Thinner, pale, oxygen tube in his nose. But his eyes? Sharp, focused, dead serious. "Tom," he said, "if you're watching this, I'm already gone. And I need you to trust me one last time." My chest tightened. I had a private investigator look into something that didn't sit right. We found scared the hell out of me. He leaned closer to the camera. "Your wife and her son are planning to kill you." I slammed the video to pause. No, absolutely not. This had to be the meds, painkillers, hallucinations. Ethan had been dying. People say crazy things at the end. But my hand was shaking. I hit play. "I know what you're thinking," Ethan said. "That I lost it. That the drugs mess with my head. I wish that were true, brother. But everything you need is on this drive." Then came the words that changed my life. "They've done this before." He explained how Melissa's past in lineup. Husbands who died young. Insurance policies updated right before accidents. Money that vanished offshore. Audio recordings. Photos. Forged documents. And then he dropped the bomb. They're planning to make it look like a robbery. It's scheduled for next month. I felt sick. "Don't confront them," Ethan warned. "Not yet. Protect yourself. And take this to the police when you're ready." The video ended. I sat there in the dark for over an hour, replaying every moment of the last 3 years. Melissa insisting on vitamins, pushing me to update my will, encouraging me to simplify my finances. I walked to the bathroom, stared at the pill bottle on the counter, and for the first time, I didn't trust my own home. And that's when I realized something terrifying. If Ethan was right, I might already be dying. I didn't sleep that night, because the pills my wife gave me every morning suddenly looked less like vitamins, and more like a countdown that I stare at that bottle like it might blink back at me. White plastic. Pharmacy label. Melissa's handwriting on the cap. "Morning. Don't forget red heart, cute. Caring." Or so I thought. My heart was thumping way too hard for a guy just standing in his own bathroom. Ethan's voice echoed in my head. "Don't let them know you know." I didn't confront her. Didn't panic. Didn't throw the bottle in the trash. Instead, I pull my phone out and snap photos from every angle. Front, back, inside the cap. Then I dump the pills into a clear Ziploc bag and replace them with look-alike multivitamins from a drugstore down the street. Same size, same color, same routine. If Melissa was watching, she'd never know the difference. That night at dinner, she smiled like always, asked how I felt, said I looked tired, told me she'd made chamomile tea to help my heart. That word stuck with me. Heart. I took the fake pill in front of her, made a face like it tasted awful. She laughed, touched my hand, played the role perfectly. Inside, I was ice cold. When she went to bed, I locked myself back in the study and opened the folders on Ethan's USB drive. And man, Ethan hadn't been paranoid. He'd been prepared. The investigator he hired, Luis Moreno, was thorough as hell. Audio recordings, bank transfers, screenshots of messages Ryan sent to his girlfriend calling me the walking lottery ticket. Photos of Melissa meeting a guy named Victor Hale, recently released violent past, bad reputation. That name came up a lot. Then I found the file that broke me. An audio recording, time-stamped, from my own kitchen. Ryan's voice, "Mom, it's taking too long." He's still walking around like nothing's wrong. Melissa replied calmly, "It's slow for a reason. You rush it, people ask questions. Digitalis builds up. Doctors see heart failure, not poison." I nearly threw up. She continued, casual as ordering takeout. "When it's done, we split everything. Then we're gone. New names. New life." I shut the laptop and just sat there, staring at the wall. The woman I trusted. The kid I put through school. They weren't just waiting for me to die. They were making it happen. I called David Chun first thing in the morning. "I watched everything." I said, "All of it." He didn't sound surprised. "Ethan hoped you believe him." "I need help," I said. "Real help." That's how Luis Moreno ended up sitting across from me in my study that afternoon. Mid-30s, military posture, eyes that missed nothing. He listened quietly while I laid it all out. When I finished, he leaned back and said, "Good news? This is attempted murder, fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. Bad news? We need them caught clean." I asked him what that meant. "It means," he said slowly, "we let them think the plan is still working." So I became an actor in my own life. I complained about dizziness, let Melissa hover, pretended the pills were making me weak. I even let her schedule a doctor's appointment, one I never planned to attend. Luis sent the pills to a lab. They came back positive for digitalis, enough to kill me over time. Melissa wasn't sloppy. She was patient. Over the next week, Luis traced money she'd been skimming from my accounts. Small amounts, spread out, hidden offshore. Nearly $250,000 gone. Then came the insurance policies. 3 of them. All forged. All recent. Total payout, $5 million. Ryan didn't even bother hiding his excitement. He started hanging around more, asking weird questions, making sure I was taking my meds. That's when Luis dropped the next bomb. "If Victor's involved," he said, "they're not just poisoning you. They're planning a backup." I felt my throat tighten. A backup? A violent one. That night, Melissa told me she had a book club dinner coming up the following weekend. Suggested I visit my daughter out of state. Even offered to pack my bag. It sounded thoughtful. Too thoughtful. Luis looked at me and said, "That's it. That's the window." They weren't just waiting for me to die. They were about to speed things up. The pills were just a warm-up. Because next, they weren't planning to poison me quietly. They were planning to make sure I didn't survive the weekend. Luis didn't sugarcoat it. "If they think you're gone," he said, tapping the table, "they'll move fast. People like this hate waiting." That was the plan. I told Melissa I was flying out Friday morning to visit my daughter. She lit up like she'd just won something. Packed my bag. Slipped an extra pill bottle into my suitcase, just in case. Even reminded me to text when I landed. I smiled, played the part. Inside, I was done trusting anything with her fingerprints on it. Friday morning, I drove to the airport, parked, walked inside, then slipped out a side exit and took a ride share to a hotel 10 minutes from my house. Luis and his team were already set up. Hidden cameras, motion sensors, audio mics, every room covered. The house I'd lived in for years was now a stage, and I was bait. Melissa wasted no time. By noon, Victor Hale showed up. Big guy, dead eyes, tattoos crawling up his neck. He moved through my house like he'd already pictured it empty. The cameras caught everything. Melissa handed him cash, pointed out my bedroom, explained where the security system was, and, more importantly, how to disable it. Make it look messy, she said. Like you panicked. Victor smirked. For the money you're paying, I'll make it clean. She shook her head. No, it needs to be a robbery. He surprises you. You react. End of story. I watched this woman, my wife, discuss my death like she was planning brunch. Ryan showed up later that afternoon. Everything lined up? He asked. Melissa nodded. Tomorrow night, you'll be at the party. 50 people. Photos. Check-ins. Ryan grinned. Finally, Luis put a hand on my shoulder. We've got enough, he said quietly, but I couldn't look away. Saturday night. I returned from my trip. Melissa greeted me at the door with a hug, asked about my daughter, said she was glad I was home safe. I played along, showed her photos I'd had ready. She was building her alibi. At 9:30 p.m., I told her I was exhausted and heading to bed early. She brought me tea. I poured it into a plant the moment she left the room. At 9:57, the back door opened. Footsteps. Slow. Confident. Victor was inside my house. My heart was pounding so loud, I thought it might give me away. I lay still in the dark bedroom, listening as he climbed the stairs. Every creak felt like a gunshot. The door opened. I saw the crowbar before I saw his face. Then lights exploded on. Police. Don't move. Victor barely had time to react before officers swarmed him. Guns drawn. Shouting. Handcuffs snapping shut. Chaos erupted. Minutes later, Melissa pulled into the driveway, right into a line of flashing police cars. The look on her face when she saw me alive in the living room? Shock. Then calculation. Then pure fear. Ryan was picked up at his party and brought in still wearing a wristband. In my study, detectives played the recordings. Ryan broke first. Started crying. Blamed his mom. Said it was her idea. Melissa stayed silent. Calm. Cold. I want a lawyer, she said. That was it. The mask was gone. They thought the story was over when Victor got arrested. They were wrong, because what the investigation uncovered next made my blood run cold and tied Melissa to deaths no one had ever questioned before. I thought the worst part was over. I was wrong. 2 days after the arrest, Detective Alvarez sat across from me in an interrogation room that smelled like burnt coffee and old paper. He slid a thin folder across the table. You ever hear of Mark Ellison? He asked. I shook my head. How about Daniel Wright? Nothing. Alvarez sighed. Good. That means you weren't supposed to. He opened the folder. 2 photos. 2 men. 2 funerals. Mark Ellison died 12 years ago. Sudden cardiac arrest. No autopsy requested. Wife inherited everything. Daniel Wright. 8 years ago. Single car accident. Brake failure. Wife collected insurance within weeks. Same wife. Melissa. My stomach flipped. She married both of them within 18 months of meeting. Alvarez continued. Both updated their wills shortly before dying. Both had unexplained financial transfers. Both deaths ruled accidental. I whispered, why wasn't this caught? Because she played it smart, he said. Different cities. Different doctors. Different timelines. No obvious violence. Until now, Victor didn't help her case either. Faced with hard time, he flipped fast. Told detectives Melissa contacted him months ago. Said poisoning was plan A. If that failed, he was plan B. Clean robbery, Victor told them. She wanted it quick. Ryan? He cracked even faster. Turns out he'd helped fake documents. Open offshore accounts. Even Google poison dosage using a burner phone. The kid I once defended at family dinners? He was in deep. Then came the courtroom. Melissa walked in calm, dressed sharp, head high like she still thought she could talk her way out. When the prosecution played Ethan's video testimony, his recorded statement submitted posthumously, the room went dead silent, his face on that screen. He saved my life. The prosecutor ended with one sentence. This was not a crime of passion. This was a business model. Melissa finally reacted. She looked at me, not angry, not sad, annoyed, like I'd messed up her plans. When the verdict came back, guilty on all counts, Ryan collapsed into tears. Melissa didn't move, didn't blink, life without parole. Just like that, it was over, or so I thought. After the trial, Detective Alvarez pulled me aside. "There's one more thing," he said, "something we found after sentencing." He handed me a sealed envelope. Inside was a letter, written in Melissa's handwriting. It said, "You survived because you listened. Most don't." And at the bottom, a list, 5 names, 5 dates, 5 cities. Only 2 had ever been investigated. My hands went numb. Melissa wasn't just a killer. She was a ghost, moving city to city, leaving bodies behind. And now that I had the list, I had a choice to make that could put me right back in danger. I didn't sleep that night. 5 names, 5 cities, my mind spun like a car with no brakes. Melissa hadn't just wanted me dead. She had a system, a blueprint, and apparently, she'd been perfecting it for years. Luis came over first thing. We went through the letter line by line. He cross-checked the names, bank accounts, real estate holdings, small-time businesses, shell companies, offshore accounts. It was dizzying and chilling. All roads led back to Melissa. "She's filthy rich," Luis said, rubbing his temples. "And every penny is tainted. If she's done this before, she's got enough to disappear for good." I realized she wasn't just my ex-wife. She was a ghost in plain sight. We decided to hit the first target on the list, a man named Franklin Hayes, living in Miami. Outwardly, a retiree. Quiet. Friends called him generous. Luis suspected he was a soft target, someone Melissa had manipulated financially, maybe even medically, like she tried with me. I didn't want to leave the house again. I didn't want to breathe outside air, but I had to. The stakes weren't just money. They were lives. Luis and I flew down under the radar, rented a nondescript car. We surveilled Franklin's house for 2 days. Quiet. Boring. Too quiet. Then something clicked. Franklin wasn't alone. A woman, mid-40s, dark hair, sharp eyes, was coming in every evening. She carried groceries, chatted like she belonged. And then it hit me. Melissa had a network. Not just a son. Not just Victor. Multiple hands. Multiple helpers. All playing their roles. We followed the woman one night. She drove 20 minutes away. Stopped at a storage facility. Luis noted the unit number. I snapped a few photos. Inside, evidence of offshore accounts. Fake passports. Passports with names I didn't recognize. Even a burner phone with numbers for every city on Melissa's list. I froze. "This is bigger than we thought," Luis whispered. Back at the hotel, I sat alone staring at my hands. Ethan had tried to warn me. He had literally sacrificed his last weeks to get this to me, and I had barely scraped the surface. Then came a knock at the door. Heart racing, I opened it. Nobody there. Only a black envelope on the floor. No note. No fingerprints. Just my name scrawled in Melissa's handwriting. Inside, a single photograph. Me, sleeping. The date, last night. I swallowed hard. She was watching. Always had been. And even behind bars, she still had her eyes on me. Luis looked at me grimly. "She wants you scared. Don't give her the satisfaction." I wanted to throw the photo away. Burn it. Shred it. But part of me, some stupid, stubborn part, knew I couldn't just ignore it. I had to finish this. For Ethan. For me. That's when the phone rang. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. A familiar voice. Cold. Calm. The kind of calm that comes before a storm. "Tom." "Congratulations on surviving," Melissa said. "But you're not done. You're never done. Click. The line went dead. Ari Hook. End of part 5. She was behind bars, but the game wasn't over. She had a plan, a network, and worst of all, she knew exactly how terrified I was. After that call, everything changed, not in a dramatic, movie-type way, in a quiet, dangerous way. Louise shut everything down. Phones, emails, credit cards. We went off-grid, different cars, different hotels. If Melissa still had people on the outside, we weren't giving them breadcrumbs. Law enforcement stepped in hard after that photo surfaced. Turns out Melissa's network wasn't huge, but it was precise. A few women she'd groomed over the years. One accountant, one crooked insurance broker, and one medical consultant who knew how to blur toxicology reports just enough to pass. They all thought they were safe. They weren't. Over the next 3 weeks, arrests rolled in across 4 states. Storage units raided. Fake passports seized. Offshore accounts frozen. The money, millions of dollars, was finally traced back to shell companies Melissa had been controlling for over a decade. Franklin Hayes? Alive. Terrified. He'd been slowly poisoned too. Microdoses, just like me. Doctors caught it in time. 2 other names on the list? Already dead. Ruled natural causes. Cases reopened. The headlines exploded. Black widow killer exposed after failed murder plot. Melissa stopped smiling after that. I visited her once. Just once. She sat across from me in an orange jumpsuit, hands folded, eyes sharp as ever. "You think you won," she said quietly. "I know I did," I replied. She tilted her head. "You survived because of Ethan, not because you're smarter." She wasn't wrong. And somehow that hurt more. I stood up to leave, and that's when she said it. "You know what scares me?" she asked. I paused. "That you're free and I'm not. And yet I still sleep just fine." That was the last time I saw her. Ryan took a plea deal. 25 years. He didn't even look at me during sentencing. 6 months later, the house was sold. I moved. Different city, different life. I funded a foundation in Ethan's name, one that quietly helps reopen suspicious death cases that slipped through the cracks. No press, no spotlight. Some stories don't need applause. At night, I still double-check my locks. Still hesitate before taking any pills. Still hear Ethan's voice when things get quiet. But I'm alive, and every morning I wake up knowing one thing for sure. The scariest monsters don't break into your house. They marry you. They smile. They wait. Ethan saved my life after he died. And the truth is, if he hadn't looked a little deeper, I would have been buried next to names nobody ever questioned.